Hey everyone, so today I wanted to just do a quick demo of how I paint my loose roses, and I just wanted to kind of show that. So I am going to jump right into it. I am using a size 10 paintbrush and some kind of random pink watercolor paint that I don't even know the brand of, and this paper is Canson. So the first thing I do is I like to see where I want to paint. Whatever it is, I have to map it out. So I want to do the rose in the corner and then have like leaves kind of popping out this way and this way, so maybe some rose buds. So I eventually want to make it into a card. So I would like it to be in the corner, kind of like this, and then text here. So what I like to do is start darker in the middle of the rose. So I get a good amount of pink paint onto my paintbrush, and I use the tip of the paintbrush. And I kind of just make C shapes to make the middle of the rose. So these are going to be darker C shapes, and I kind of put a little bit of pressure on my paintbrush, the thicker it gets. And then when I am ready to do the outer petals, I use less paint and more water. And that's because I want to make a kind of a looser and lighter effect. And the more water you use, the lighter it will be. So I make these larger C shapes, and I kind of go around the middle, and I have a tiny bit of paint on my paintbrush and more water, and you can always go back and add more, which is what I do as well. So I do end up making these darker, and I do like a whole shadowing effect, but for now I'm kind of just seeing where they're all gonna go and mapping it out basically. And I want to make this loose, and I also want to make this simple. So it might be a little hard to see right now, but we're going to go back and we're going to add to it. But for right now, I'm kind of just wetting the paper, adding a little bit of paint here and there, and we'll go back and make it darker. So these, like this portion right here, is still kind of wet, which is good. And you can always add more water too if it dries up. But I'm going to make these a little darker, just to give it some depth. And something else I wanted to show is at the top of the petal, you can see here that this is still wet. If you just get a tiny bit of paint at the tip of your paintbrush and just tap and outline the top of the petals, it kind of gives it this shadowing effect, and it'll dry like that too, which is kind of nice. And you kind of can just go around and keep adding layers. Working in layers is very necessary when dealing with roses and different flowers. So I kind of just added a ton of paint there. If you add too much, or if you don't like the amount that you added, you can always go in and just kind of dab with a paper. This is just a piece of a paper towel, and then kind of get some water and make it a little lighter so it's not as intense. And usually what I'll do as well is I will go back again in the middle and add, even once this is like really dry, I'll add darker C shapes again, just to give it more shadow, more depth, and I'll add them here as well. And sometimes I like to wait till it's dry or half dry at least, so just so it can add more to the petals, more to the flower. And you don't have to wait till it's dry. You can kind of call it a day with what you have here. It's hard to know when to be done, or it's hard to, like, you know, see how it's going to turn out each time, because each time is different. Every single flower is different. Every single way that it's painted can be different. It dries differently each time, so you're never going to get the exact same thing. And what I like to do is just I keep adding to it until I'm satisfied, until I think I'm done. And sometimes it's hard to know when that is, and sometimes it's really easy. So basically, I think for now I'm done with this until it dries, and I'll go back and I'll add more to make a shadow. But for right now, I think I'm done with just this layer. Okay, hey, welcome back to part 2. I also want to apologize because I rewatched that video and there's a lawnmower in the background, so sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, I am going to kind of go back now and do the layers that I was talking about, the darker layers, to give it a more defined look. Now, this is a pretty quick process. Kind of just, you know, go where you feel need some definition, some color. I like to really make it dark in the middle. And you can kind of see the layering and the different layers of the different petals, which is kind of nice to see. And you can go back and add more color. Sometimes, if I'm feeling crazy, I will add a little orange or a little yellow to give it a little bit of a little bit more of a realistic kind of tone to it. So let's see. I'm gonna get some yellow here. And sorry you can't see my paints, that they're not in the shot. Maybe I'll change that if I get a real tripod. Okay, so yeah, so I'm kind of adding pops of yellowy orange to give it a little bit more of more color, more fun. Why not, right? It's just fun, you know? Okay, so, and when I feel like it's, you know, it's done and ready and fine, I just tend to stop, and then you can always come back to it. So I probably will add a little bit more to this later on, but again, you have to work in layers. So you have to kind of, you know, do the first layer, wait, let it dry for a little bit, come back to it, and see if you want to add more. And that is pretty much it for now. Thanks.